If you're anything like me or many of the singers, the vocal artists that I've worked with over the years, you are an extremely creative person with the need to express yourself creatively. Maybe you have more than one creative outlet and all these creative ideas and projects that are coming at you from all sides. But in there is your voice and the music and the need to express yourself through your voice. Singing other people's music is great. It can feel so good. But you have your own stories and your own experiences and your own feelings and emotions and these concepts that you want to bring to life through music as an artist. And you want to do it in your own unique voice. But where to begin? Welcome to Reawaken Your Voice. I'm Lainey Prendeville Crawford, holistic voice coach, singer, song weaver. I believe the song in your heart holds medicine for yourself and for the world. And yet too often, something happens along the way. We shut down our voice and our song goes unsung. Whether you stopped singing years ago or have always harbored an unrealized dream to start, if you're ready to finally give voice to those unsung songs in your heart, then take my hand as I guide you to free yourself from the inner critic, reignite your creativity, find your courage, sing with confidence, and reawaken those dormant parts of yourself aching for a revival. So dust off your songbooks, tune up your guitar, bust out your singing bowls, your shakers, your drum. Actually, all you really need is your voice, your breath, open ears, and an open heart. Let's play. You know you have music inside of you. You can just feel it. It's like you sense these songs that, some of them may be just little seeds. Some of them may be beginning to grow into something. Or maybe you just feel them pulsing in your heart, trying to find their way out. And, it can be hard to know where to begin with all the moving pieces involved in bringing this song from inside of you out where we can hear it and experience it. Maybe you're a writer and these words and phrases come to you so easily, and there's a part of you that knows there's music as part of it. It wants to come through your voice. Maybe you see visual images as you're walking throughout your day and it sparks something in you and you want to put that visual to music or it ignites this idea that you want to paint through your voice. Maybe you find yourself humming and these melodies just fill your ears and they need a place to go. Maybe you're, tinkering on the piano or strumming a little bit on a guitar, and that feeling, that vibe of the music just calls to you to add your voice to it. However this begins within you, it can be hard to know where to take it or how to, bring all these moving parts and pieces together into a cohesive work of art. If you're anything like me or many of the singers, the vocal artists that I've worked with over the years, you are an extremely creative person with the need to express yourself creatively. Maybe you have more than one creative outlet and all these creative ideas and projects that are coming at you from all sides. But in there is your voice and the music and the need to express yourself through your voice. Singing other people's music is great. It can feel so good. But you have your own stories and your own experiences and your own feelings and emotions and these concepts that you want to bring to life through music as an artist. And you want to do it in your own unique voice. But where to begin? Especially if you don't play an instrument, or maybe you feel like those instrumental skills are a little too basic, and maybe you struggle to coordinate all those parts at once. Maybe you don't have a strong grasp of music theory or the structure or, like the language of music in terms of how it's all put together. So a lot of these questions can be swirling through your mind as you attempt to enter the creative process of songwriting. Songwriting, I've said this, it really is what helped me find my own artistic voice. I was living in Vienna, Austria, working with a voice coach in my opera days as I was preparing to audition for agents and, go full force into the opera profession. I had already been in it for years, but, this was a next level kind of step where, okay, I'm really doing this. And I remember being in a voice session and just having this moment of revelation that this is not where I wanted to be or what I wanted to be doing. And it just didn't feel like me anymore. Maybe at one point it was me, because I truly loved opera and the classical training that I was blessed to have the opportunity to receive and, to develop my gift in that way. It was such a beautiful part of my life. And yet I felt boxed in. I felt like, okay, I'm just shaping my voice into what I think it's supposed to sound like to sing this specific kind of music and, fit this role and fit this specific category of voice, this type of voice. And my creativity kind of got squashed in there. Yes, there is plenty of creativity involved in performing and bringing that character to life in my own way. So yes, I did get to tap into that, but something else was calling to me. Like, I want to create from my own experiences and my own stories and write my own songs in a totally different style and use my voice in different ways. And I want to break the rules and be okay with it and not be told, like, you can only do it this way. You can only do it that way. So there was this moment where I just blanked out in the session. I zoned out, and I was, all of these things I just said were going through my mind. And, the coach recognized that I was somewhere else and kind of reeled me back in. But as soon as I walked out of that session, I walked through that door and I just took to the hills. I literally got on a tram and took it to the edge of the Vienna hills, the Vienna woods, the outskirts of the city, to hike through the woods, because nature is a place that I feel at home, that always brings me back home to myself. Perhaps you can relate to that. But, wandering through the woods, I already started to feel these songs wanting to emerge, little pieces here and there. So I pull out my notebook, my little one that I could fit into my purse that I brought everywhere I went. I'd write on trains and on planes and sitting on the banks of the Danube. Those were good times. It truly is an artist's city. But I'm sure you have these notebooks, right? These notebooks full of ideas. It's something as creatives, it's just like a part of life. So I filled up many of these in my, around a year, a little bit over a year that I lived there. But, songs are already coming through me. It's as if I finally allowed myself to embrace the music that I wanted to sing. Even though I didn't really know yet what that was, but I let myself, it's kind of like I set myself free from that box. And I could finally frolic through this playground and these fields of wildflowers. That's what it felt like. So, returning back to my flat, I picked up the guitar and just sat on the floor of my flat and started playing around with these words that had come while I was in the woods. And, this is the beginning of a journey of songwriting. And, I was just kind of following it where it led me. Looking back now, I see where I was beginning to write songs as a little girl, as a teenager. The unrequited love poems, and it was there. It was always there. But this is where it really began to take form, and I really was gathering all of my musical skills and putting them into songs. And through these songs, as I walked this creative journey, this artist's journey through life, I began to get to the core of who I was as a musician, as a singer, as an artist. And they really brought me back home to myself and were there with me in these times of deep sorrow in life, times where I was feeling empty or I didn't have the answers. I didn't understand, what I was going through or what I was feeling, but I could channel it into this creative outlet and make some sense of it. Or, put words to these feelings, and in a way, it made me feel understood. Fast forward to today. Yes, I do feel like I've come to a point where I get to be free with my expression and use my voice the way I want to. I have this creative outlet that I can turn to. And perhaps that's something that you're longing for too. It's that freedom to express yourself through your voice and not by proxy through other people's music, through your own words, your own melodies, your own voice, as a vocal artist, as a singer-songwriter. Know that as you dive deeper into finding your voice, not only your singing voice, but your creative, artistic voice, your unique sound as a vocal artist, as you go deeper into that, there will be seasons, times where you really feel like, yes, this is it. I have come to this place where I truly feel like I'm being myself, expressing what's really there through my music. And then, there are times where you start to shift and pivot, and those in-between times can feel really disorienting. They can feel like you've totally lost your way. And, there are times of experimenting and playing with different styles on the way to finding your voice, where you think you found it and then you realize, no, this isn't quite it. Or, wow, I got off track there. Or, well, that was a fun detour, but let's kind of bring it back here, bring it back. So, all this to say that it's a wild ride, and I'm so glad that you're on it with me. I hope that you have been able to draw something meaningful from hearing my story, my journey from singing other people's music to creating my own. And I look forward to sharing more about the rest of that journey, all the obstacles that are there. And, that journey from writing your own songs to really finding your artistic voice, finding that unique sound that is yours alone, that song that is yours alone to sing. So this is really only just the beginning. Now, I kind of went on a journey there with my story. So I've decided to divide this conversation into 2 parts. So stay tuned next time for part 2, where I will share a little bit more with you about how you can get started with songwriting as a creative outlet, if this is something that calls to you. And, we'll talk a little bit more about finding your artistic voice in the process. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Hey friend, thank you so much for listening. If this episode unlocked something in you or moved you in some way, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're streaming this, and share this episode with a friend who's been praying for a vocal breakthrough. Until we meet again, keep nurturing that song in your heart. Lots of love.